Hi, we're the movie girls. We had a brief hiatus of, 3 weeks?
Ish. Yeah, barely.
Yeah, some personal stuff going on, but we're back.
We're here.
We're better than ever.
Yeah, we're
New
ready.
and improved flavor.
I just thought of like Hubba Bubba bubble gum and the watermelon one. I don't know why.
Oh, you like that one?
Yeah, I do.
Artificial watermelon. We talked about this yesterday. Artificial watermelon is no bueno.
It's no bueno. I was trying to make a watermelon simple syrup yesterday, and I don't know how I feel about it. I was very hopeful to start with, and then as it cooked, because who cooks watermelon, it lost the fun, I guess. Anyway.
We'll figure it out.
It's fine.
So hi, hello, we're back.
Good day.
And Teal's chosen this week's movie. What was our last movie?
Clueless.
Clueless, yeah.
Ah, yes. So we did Clueless, our last episode. We thought it'd be fun every few to just do a movie that is fun and silly and lighthearted, still following the, I guess, values and, for lack of a better word, rules that we've set out for ourselves for this podcast and what types of female characters we want to see. But sometimes you just want something a little bit fun.
Yeah, and we want to have a good balance of heavier material movies and sort of lighter, fluffy, fun movies.
Yeah, so we were pretty...
too much of one or too much of the other. So
we were pretty extreme with the Clueless, and now we're going way to the other side of the spectrum with something a lot bit more heavy.
Yeah. Have you read the book The Color Purple or seen the movie?
I haven't actually. Have you?
No.
Yeah, I remember when it came out. Like, I wasn't over. No, I didn't. Nope.
You were born.
I wasn't born.
I was just waiting to see where that was going to go, but because I think the movie was released like a day after I was born, actually.
Oh.
And it would have been before you were born. So. Yep. 1985. And I think the book came out in I think it was published in 1982.
Yeah, I don't know why. I have a memory of this movie from
maybe
when
it came
I was
on
a
TV
kid
or something, right?
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Because I remember being young, like under 10 or something, and I remember my mom talking about it and like my aunt talking about it and her friends or something. I don't know. I have this weird memory about it.
Probably like some edited version of it on TV.
Yeah. Okay, so I never watched. I don't know if my mom ever did watch it. I can't imagine. She might have, but there's a lot of like heavy stuff in this movie that I don't know. I have some weird memory of it being around when I was a kid, but I don't know anything part of that. This is a terrible story. I'm so sorry.
It's fine. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about it?
So Color Purple, in 1985, directed by Steven Spielberg. It's based on the novel by Alice Walker. It stars Whoopi Goldberg, Margaret Avery, Oprah Winfrey. Budget of $15 million. It grossed over $98.5 million worldwide. Golden Globe wins and nominations. Oscars, 11 nominations and 0 wins, which is notable and interesting, which we can definitely talk about later. The synopsis of the movie is a black Southern woman struggles to find her identity after suffering abuse from her father and others over 4 decades. I didn't look too much farther into the story because we haven't seen it. I didn't want to spoil it too much.
Yeah, we want to view it with fresh eyes.
Yeah. So I mean, I get the gist of it. It's 1900s, Deep South, and the lives of women and families in that time. Yeah, we'll have more to talk about after. Cocktail this week, Tiff. What did you choose?
Oh my god! In true me fashion, I just threw this together with whatever Teal had in her kitchen. Essentially, the recipe that I based it off of is called like a purple people eater cocktail.
Oh, fun!
Which has purple sugar around the rim. I don't know where to find purple sugar, so
I don't have it.
1.5 parts vodka, 1 part blue curacao, which we subbed out for. What is it? Blue raspberry
mix. It's from Roses, which is the same brand as the grenadine. Grenadine that everyone buys is Roses.
Right. So. I think she'll just wanted to get rid of that, so we just used it up in this cocktail. No, it's fine. I didn't want to go to the store. Like, let's just be honest.
Yeah. And honestly, is there any appropriate cocktail for this movie? No.
Like, should we even be doing a cocktail? Probably not. But here we are. Okay, so 1 part blue curacao that we subbed out for the blue raspberry, 1 part sweet and sour mix, which I just realized I put way too much simple syrup in. I looked it up and I thought it was 1 part lemon, 1 part lime, 2 parts simple syrup, but it's actually 1 part simple syrup because I tried it and it's hella sweet. So it's just sweet mix.
Oh.
My bad. Whatever.
Fine.
I don't
We can splash some
It's a
lime in
shit
there
show.
after. It's
And
fine.
then 1 part grenadine in hopes that the grenadine and the blue raspberry would make purple.
So we really are 100% just drinking syrup with some vodka thrown in?
Yeah, and it's supposed to also have 1 part cranberry juice, but again, I did not go to the store. So I threw this all in a shaker, I shook it up, I threw it in a glass. And it is not the color purple, it is the color maroon.
It's a really pretty maroon. And what did you garnish with? You have some...
Oh, some frozen cherries I threw in
Which
there.
are the same color. The cherry and the cocktail are the same color, which I think
It's a pretty color. It's just
It is.
It's not, purple.
No. But again, honestly, it's not because we didn't want to do a good cocktail. I just felt like we really weren't going to find one that was appropriate.
No, it
And
wasn't
there
even that. I
isn't-
just
Yeah. I don't know.
It's fine.
It's fine,
I'd
guys.
say I did my best, but I didn't.
You did your best for how you were doing today.
That was 0 effort.
Well, that's okay. Not
it's okay.
everything is going to.
It's a somber movie, and I think we just kind of want to focus on that. We don't want to focus on
Yeah.
a shitty cocktail.
Yeah.
Let's try it.
Let's try it, yes. Would you like to do the cheers today?
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
Can't think of a good one.
Yes, we're keeping me in
I
the
think
house.
I think we're gonna have some crying ahead of us.
Syrupy. Holy God. It's surprisingly sour.
Is it?
Yes.
I squirted a shit ton of lime juice in there because I realized my fuck up, and I was like, I gotta make it sour. Oh, it's real. I'm really good at making like cough medicine cocktails.
You actually are, oddly enough.
It's
but
my
you like that.
superpower. I like it. I actually
I was
do.
gonna say it's not bad. I don't
I
dislike
like it. It's
it.
gonna give me a stomach ache, like 100%. But I think this movie's 2.5 hours long at
It'll
least.
take me that long to drink it.
So yeah, let's just take our time. I don't know. We'll throw something else in there.
I honestly don't mind it.
I'm gonna
It's
squirt
just
some
a
lemon
lot.
juice in mine. I think.
You want more? I think it's a little. It's tart.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not getting any tartness.
But then it the aftertaste is just.
Oh, I
pure
made them
sugar.
very differently. I didn't even measure, and I had to do them. It's fine.
Oh, I like it. I don't.
Can I try
don't-
yours?
Yes, please. Can I try yours?
Yes, please.
I don't hate it. I don't know. I don't mind it.
Oh no, it's not bad, but it's not good. Oh yeah, yours is much better. What did I do?
I don't know. I
Actually,
don't mind yours either.
Oh,
I don't know. They're not bad.
those
It's
are
fun,
2
guys.
completely different drinks to me.
Yeah, they kind of are. They look the same, which is kind of fun.
So they just dumped all the rest of the blue raspberry, and that's why. It's just blue raspberry mix.
I can feel the sugar burning down my throat. You know what? It's not bad. Whatever, guys.
Should we order some food in to
Probably
Okay.
to soak all this up.
We're gonna hit pause. We're gonna order some food. We're gonna watch this movie, and we will be back in a few hours.
Yeah, and we promise we'll make somewhat of an effort in our talk. We have things to talk about that are serious. We'll be more somber and appropriate when we come back. We promise.
I don't promise anything.
No, I don't know why I said that. I'm so sorry. That was wrong.
Stop setting us up for failure.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do it. Anyway, see you in a bit. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
We're back.
Almost 3 hours later.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's a long one.
It's
My
a long
goodness.
one. It's a hard one to watch.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think not
We knew,
obviously you, but obviously to everybody, of course, was going to be a hard one. It's just initial opinions. Tiff, what was your initial reaction?
I don't like when you put me on the spot.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Just kidding. Initial reactions. Teal,
How
how
the
do you
hell did
feel?
Oprah not win a Best Supporting Actress
Fucking
Oscar is my
shit.
initial reaction.
Yeah, the fact that they won 0 Oscars is the most ridiculous fucking thing. I don't know. I think, yeah, we all know that the Oscars are basically stupid and terrible and the worst.
Yeah, I mean, they're racist now, but in 1986. So
Like,
it
there
was...
were even, for God's sake, there were white people that got nominations and they still didn't give them anything. Fucking assholes.
Well, Teal mentioned earlier that the movie was nominated for 11 Oscars. Didn't win a single one.
No.
Um,
Well, apparently the big controversy that year with these is that Spielberg didn't get a Best Director nomination.
oh yeah, that's what everyone was upset
I'm
about.
pretty sure that's not the big fucking controversy. Spielberg is fine. Fuck Spielberg.
But was
He's
that
fine.
one of Whoopi Goldberg's first big
It
roles?
was
do you
her
know?
first role. It was, yeah, I think even in the credits in the opening, it was introducing Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh, I didn't even notice
She
that.
was
She's so young.
strictly a comedian
Right.
at that time. And I guess that's how her audition went, was that she didn't have an audition for the movie itself, like a character audition. She did a stand-up performance for Spielberg and Quincy Jones, I think, and a few other people.
Wow. I also read that she sent her resume to Alice Walker, who wrote the book.
And she asked Alice to come see her at a show. Because even though it's comedy, it's stand-up, but she does so many characters in her stand-up bit that it, in its own way, shows the range that she has, which is kind of cool. So it was a very unorthodox way of getting a part, and
Yeah.
she was fantastic.
She was amazing. And Oprah, too, wanted this role for so long and hadn't heard back from anybody after auditioning for quite a long time. So I think she assumed she hadn't got it. And she's like, one of the characters is named Harpo. How is that not a sign that I'm meant to be in this movie? And then she was.
It just recently, within the last couple of weeks, I watched something or read something about Oprah's pursuit. Her pursuit. Saying perusal, but that wasn't right.
Okay.
Her pursuant. Fuck. That of her going after this role. Something about the whole point of it was that she was pursuing this for so long and so hard and was doing everything she could to get this role because she knew that this role was meant for her.
She used the secret.
She was meant for this fucking role. It was hers.
Yeah.
And then she finally one day she just let it go. Like she just let it go, and then it came to her, which was some sort of like motivational, not
Oprah.
Whatever. But it was really interesting though, because the second she just said, you know what, if it happens, it happens. I can't chase this anymore, and then it happened, and she got it. So good job, Oprah.
Good job, Oprah. Great job, Oprah.
Yeah.
I think she was one of my favorites. My favorite characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I feel like I just don't have a lot of words.
I know.
To describe a lot of things.
It's hard. It's one of those movies that you kind of want to sit back and reflect on for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to formulate any sort of coherent thought on it after seeing it.
Yeah.
Anyway, as we mentioned earlier, the book was written by Alice Walker. It was published in 1982, and this movie was made in 1985.
Yeah.
So that turnaround time's really quick, and I wonder if they hadn't had Steven Spielberg attached to the role as director, would that have happened? Because even though at first, you're like, okay, that's a white man making a movie for black women,
Yeah.
of the voice of a black woman, and that kind of gives you pause a little bit, I think. But would it have done it as well as it had? Would it have had the views that it had if it weren't for him and everything that his name was attached to? Because before that, he did Indiana Jones movies, E.T., Gremlins, Back to the Future, so many big movies, and a lot of all starring white people. And then he took on this movie, and I don't know. It's kind of interesting to think about that. Yeah, it was a white man making this movie, but had it happened any other way, it maybe wouldn't have been as big as it is, right? And as good as it was. It almost needed that Hollywood push to get people to see it, and it did so well in theaters. And at that point, how many people had seen a movie starring a whole cast of black actors, right? That was that important to us.
Well, I think Quincy Jones' involvement too was really huge as well, because even when Spielberg was asked to direct, he turned it down and didn't want to, and just didn't think he was appropriate for it because he didn't have enough knowledge of the Deep South and what happened there. And Quincy Jones was the one that convinced him to do it. He said something about, did you have to be an alien to do E.T.? And he's like, so it was okay, good point. So then he took it.
Spielberg said most of the criticism of him directing the movie came from other directors that felt that they had been overlooked, and it should have been a black director telling the story. But Oliver Stone stated the movie was an attempt to deal with an issue that had been overlooked, and it wouldn't have been done if it hadn't been Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
So interesting to think about for sure.
Yeah, it definitely is. A lot of things, I don't know, they don't get out there. I think this ties in a lot to a lot of the movies we've done and talked about how if it wasn't for a white male, things wouldn't happen. It's all the remakes we talked about, Ocean's 8 and Ghostbusters and stuff. Those were done by white males before, so now the females can have a shot at it, kind of a thing. It's a lot of things that seem to not, you can't really get a buy-in unless a white male
Well, it's
backs
possible to use your privilege for good.
Yeah.
I guess.
And this seems to be one of the things that it was, I guess, which is nice, I guess. Yeah. I don't have a lot of like really fun trivia on it because it wasn't thrilling. Usually I can find some good stuff. One of the things that Spielberg regrets is the lack of portrayal of Celie and Shug's
kiss.
Well, now it's supposed to be, I think in the book, we haven't read it, but I think it was like a whole.
Oh, he said it was like erotic in the book.
Yeah,
almost.
And he didn't do anything. He said that was one of the. He was at the time. He was worried about alienating the audience.
Right, and I think he said that he felt a little bit uncomfortable about it, and he wished he had pushed himself to go about it differently, I guess.
Yeah, he said it was his biggest regret of the film.
I read that bit too, and so I was expecting it actually to be a lot tamer than it was. Like, it wasn't like super duper racy or anything, but it was still like a huge moment in the film that
definitely
I wasn't expecting, I guess. And I really like that. So she obviously saw Shug as like this version of like independence from a man, from anything. She just did what she wanted, and she did it how she wanted to, and
when she wanted to, and with who she wanted to.
Yeah, everything under her own terms. So she was such an important character for Celia to see. Like, this is how women can live, and she's doing great.
But then I guess at the same time too, she was also so incredibly naive and oblivious to things. Like when Celie was telling her about what sex with her husband was like, Shug just didn't get it. And then what she did was she was just like, it's like you make it sound like he's going to the bathroom on you, and she was like, well, yeah, that's what it feels like. And it was just like Shug couldn't even fathom that that's what that's like. And for me, I guess it almost feels like how Shug reacted to hearing about what Celie's home life was like was almost like how I've felt, and I think how a lot of other white women have felt hearing about what the lives of people of color are like. It felt very, I don't know, it felt very similar to me. It's like, you get that a lot, I think, when, things happen and you get, white women on Facebook or whatever being like, I just can't believe this is happening, and I couldn't even have imagined that this, whatever event even could have occurred. But people of color are like, well, this happens like all the time. This is life.
This is nothing new.
Yeah, this probably is tame. Like, this is not anything. Like, what? And it felt very like that. I guess maybe there's just been a lot more. Maybe I've been a lot more present and paying attention to news and things like that, and I'm trying to change my worldview, and maybe it's more reflective of me and trying to learn and educate myself and not be ignorant and just naive. But that's when listening to that, seeing it, that's what I was thinking about. Because the abuse and thing isn't that type of abuse isn't a new concept for me. Like, I know what that is and stuff, but it's what somebody else is going through that is so beyond the scope of your world, and to just be so completely like shocked by it, I guess. Not even that she was shocked, she was just like,
because she has a whole other side of Mr. that, like, they both had these completely different sides of the same man, because he treated Shug with like love and respect. He attempted to cook for her, and he made love to her. When Celie, he just, used her. Yeah. And did his business on her, like.
Yeah. It kind of, I guess it's like, the argument people have when someone's accused of something, with all the, like, sexual harassment accusations going around, and people or someone's like, well, I've never seen that side of them. So it's almost like a dismissal of what that person is saying happened to them. Not that was what Shug was doing, but in our kind of world, people do that all the time. It's like, well, I've never seen that side of that person, so I don't know if I believe you. It's like, just because that's the biggest thing about abusers is everyone outside of the family doesn't see it, especially with alcoholics and people like, fathers and husbands that abuse their wives and children. they're only horrifying to their family, but outside they think they're the most friendly, wonderful, jovial guy around, and people won't believe the family when they say what horrors are happening in their home.
Because this is why we listen to women.
And this is why we listen to women. But listen to anybody. If they're saying that this is what happened, just because your experience isn't the same doesn't mean that it discounts what happened to that person. It still happened to them. You've just never seen that part, but it doesn't make it you only seen this doesn't mean that's the only side of that person. Everyone has multiple sides. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that was a bit of a tangent, but anyway. That's very much what it was making me think about, I guess.
What was your favorite part of the movie?
I mean, like, the easy one is when Celie stood up at that dinner and just, I mean, that's amazing.
And then Sophia just came back to life. I love that so much.
Me too.
It was so good.
There's little things too that I just love, like when she spit in the dad's water. And she's just watching, waiting for him to take that drink, and I liked that. That was delightful.
The little things that would make her happy, because she obviously had a bit of a miserable life there, and she would just find these little things and get that little grin, and so she still found things to get her through day by day.
Right, and like at Harpo's juke joint when Suge's singing Celie's Blues, and those women were just staring, and then she just sticks her tongue out at them like, fuck you bitches. I loved that, because Celie probably had never had any attention given to her before, and this like gorgeous sexy woman is singing a song to you, like, that's just, I don't know, I liked it, didn't it?
It was great. It was such a stark moment too, I found, when she got married off, and then her sister came to visit, and they were acting like children together because they were children that had been married off. Like, that was just, it was so hard to watch for me. I was so uncomfortable by that. I really loved how the color purple was used in the movie. At her happiest moments. So in the beginning, when she's playing in the fields with her sisters, you see all of the purple flowers. And at the end too. Yeah. When they're all in the house and she's wearing purple. As she gets stronger and she finds her happiness, you notice purple in the background. And then the fact that she was making pants.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Oh my god, they didn't wear pants in the late 30s. They
didn't wear pants, and she was making pants for everyone. Yeah. And just like embracing her independence in like the most perfect way. It took me a while to get that, because at first when it had her sign and she was making pants, I was like, what? And I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah. And that's one really size cool. fits all pants. Fits like, all my pants. God. Oh, yeah, that was lovely. Yeah, watching her just grow and blossom was really great. And when she started getting her letters, her physical appearance, what she was wearing, kept changing. Like, she kept more jewelry would be on, she'd have earrings on.
Yeah, her back was straight and her shoulders were back.
It was just so...
It's so funny how you can watch a movie that was so important in its time, and we watch it now in 2019, and it's just as important now.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been 30 some years.
Right? Yeah, like the same thing with Thelma and Louise.
Yeah.
And then The Color Purple, and obviously a lot more important to other people than us, but you know what I mean? Like, everyone should watch it.
Yeah, for sure.
If you haven't, and if it's been a long time, like we always say, watch it again.
I think another thing that speaking of things that were upsetting, something else that I don't know, hated, but not because it wasn't like done well, but just because it bothered me immensely, especially in the beginning when you're seeing all these horrible things and hearing about them and how they're 13 and are on their second child by their father and getting married off, and the music was so chipper and happy, and they're frolicking in the grass, and I hated it. I hated the score.
You hated it?
Bothered me. Yeah.
I actually loved it.
It made me upset. Like,
wasn't the score by Quincy Jones too?
Probably. And it got nominated for stuff, and it's not like I hated it because it was not good, but I hated it because of how much it bothered me. Oh. Yeah, it didn't mesh for me, and perhaps I assume that was on purpose.
Yeah,
but
I think that was the point, hey?
Yeah, definitely. But just the juxtaposition of this like super delightful, charming music at the beginning because we're setting up the scene, but the scene is absolute fucking hell.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I couldn't deal with that almost. I hated it so much. But yeah, I hope that makes sense. It's not because it was bad. It was just because of the actual emotions that it brought out in me, which I suppose is the point. So good job. Didn't like. It was disturbing, I suppose.
Oh yeah, it was disturbing.
It was disturbing. That's
Which is
what
why
it was.
it worked so well, because if it had been like this dark music kind of underscoring all these events, it would have been a completely different feel. And I
think that's better.
That's what
It's
they were
not that
going
I
for,
hated
hey?
it, it's that I was disturbed
did its
by
job,
it.
yeah.
It really did.
yeah.
I didn't expect that, I guess. Like, I read a couple things about how Alice was her name, the writer?
Yeah, Alice Walker.
I was gonna say Winter. I knew that wasn't right. She
Ivy
Winters. That's not it. Anyway, sorry. I read a thing about how Alice
Walker.
Shit. Alice Walker.
Pursual
of Alice Winters. Shit. So bad. She didn't like the movie to start with. She did like it once she saw it with an audience and got to see and feel the audience's reaction. Mm-hmm. But one of the things she didn't like was how Oklahoma, the whole opening felt. Mm-hmm. Like it was so like musical, happy times in the early 1900s.
Really sets you up.
It really does for
something else.
Something entirely fucking different.
Yeah, it started, I was like, maybe this isn't so bad. It's going to be a sweet little film about these two sweet little girls. Actually, and then it just takes a hard left turn.
A hard fucking left turn while it's still telling you it's nice and happy. I didn't realize I made 2 notes about how much I hate the score. I had like a nice, smart sentence about it. I was like, this juxtaposition of the things and score versus blah, blah. And the next one was like, I hate the score. And I underlined hate.
Oh, man.
I forgot about it. Delightful. I think we actually, it's funny. I'd written this down and then 2 beats later you said it out loud, but how Mr. is a child. He's just a boy child.
He's such a pouty pants.
Such a fucking child. And I had written down, Mr. is like a child.
Just throws little fits when things don't go his way. And
right?
Well, yeah, and then he, beats down his wife, I think, to feel powerful again.
Of course, because his dad beat the shit out of him. Because all that shit is, we are the product of how and who we were raised by. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what we are, and trying to break that cycle is very difficult.
100%. And I
doable,
think Sophia helped Harpo break that cycle.
She did.
Sweet Harpo.
But I mean, she too would beat back because that's how she was raised. Yeah. And not that that's better, but at least she stood up for herself.
At least she stood up for herself.
Yeah.
Her and Celie had these kind of similar beginnings, but they both took very different routes to get where they were later in life.
Yeah. Fucking man children. God, just, ugh. I saw something else too about something people didn't like about this was that it was really about man bashing and
people hated the way that this depicted black men. I mean, reasonable enough. A lot of the men in this are horrible. Not all of them.
Yep.
There's some good ones. Larry Fishburne.
Larry Fishburne. Lawrence Fishburne's name in this movie is actually
he's credited as Larry Fishburne.
Ugh, he went and fancied himself up after this one.
He's a dreamboat.
He was real cute. But about that, with how terribly the black men were portrayed. But I mean, think of how the fuck they were raised. I mean, they were raised by their fathers, but going back and back and back, all of their fathers at one point were raised by fucking white slave hands who would beat the shit out of them for anything that they did. So
everything
really,
stripped from them. So
everything. So that's what they learned and were raised on, because we stole them all and made them do shit and treated them like worse than animals. So how the fuck are they supposed? Like, I just, again,
to me, it was a very
accurate
description of a patriarchal society at the time. It was a snapshot of this one place.
Yeah.
Not all men, guys. Like, Jesus Christ.
Oh God, right? Exactly.
I can show you a film with some really shitty men, and it's not an attack on every man ever.
No.
So that's kind of what I get from this is...
Yeah.
And I understand, we don't have a ton of, especially not at that time, movies about Black families.
Yeah.
So, of course, it's going to be disheartening to see something that you think is just sort of a negative portrayal, and you think that that's going out to people everywhere. That's how things are, but...
And, it can be there to reinforce stereotypes of what people think Black families are like.
But those people are shitty people. You have to give the audience some credit.
Yeah, I think so, too. Like, we know that's not what it is, and... Honestly, in my head, whenever I think of, like, abusive, horrible dad, I think of a white man always.
Oh, yeah.
I always think of some shitty, drunk white man beating his family. That's, anytime anyone says abusive father, white man pops in my head, and will always. So,
and there was some redemption in the end for pretty much all of the characters, so...
Yeah.
I think that's important to remember, too.
Like, no, yeah, because Mr. wasn't... He was a shitty, shitty human. He tried in the end. It wasn't enough, and it would never be enough, but it was a big thing. And
he learned
and it was good.
a thing.
Yes, he did learn a thing.
And so did Shug's dad, and,
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, that was a goosebumpy scene in the church.
Yeah, because I liked her. She was a very interesting character. I really enjoyed her. Any other fun bits you had there? Missed it?
Those are my things. I think for me, the main takeaway from this film that it's about always being able to kind of lean on other women to get you through. I think especially what I've read about like Black women's experiences and just relying on your sisters, and that was kind of the main theme, right? They all had each other to help each other out whenever the other needed.
Yeah. And not always, like there was lots of time when they were not. But I think the general theme is that the whole thing we're getting, not all men are trash. They're not. Some are very trash. But the whole point is maybe you should look at the ones that are trash and try to be not like them.
Yeah, maybe don't be so fragile. And
like
you can watch a movie about this and
take something away from it and learn something about it.
Yeah.
See if that reflects in you and your
Swallow
behavior.
your pride a little bit.
Yes.
See where it gets you.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. That's what we should all do. We should all, when we watch movies, especially ones that are not just, Avengers. It's like actual deep, meaningful movies, and see ourselves in all the characters. That's what stories are for. It's to show you characters, extreme versions of them. See yourself in those, good and bad, and amplify or take away do the things that are good that you see that, and see you have an example of how it affects people because you just watched it in a movie. So be like that, and then you see those terrible behaviors. Maybe think if you do any of those kinds of things, and then don't do those because you just watched it affect somebody. Like that's
that
what
was
stories
a lovely
are.
thought. Oh, good job. Thanks. That was nice. Let's end it there.
Okay. Do we have our question? No. Okay.
I don't think this is a question.
Maybe it's not.
Movie.
Yeah.
I don't want to rate it.
No.
Out of anything.
No.
Because what do two white girls
fucking know about
opinions matter on this?
Not a lot.
No.
And we're okay with that.
Yeah.
Because
I rate this movie all the purple.
Oh, all the purple.
Even this maroon cocktail.
That is almost purple, but not quite. But
we're gonna call it the murky cocktail. Thanks, Joel.
Thanks, Joel, for that. It's murky, just like
my soul.
It's like my soul. Anyway, thanks for listening to us, guys. We appreciate you sticking through us from all the things.
Oh, and we do have a fun one next week too.
Yeah, I already forgot what it is, but I'm excited because you're gonna tell me when I hit pause.
It was your idea.
I believe it.
We actually don't know anything about it, so it's going to be exciting. You'll have to tune in next week.
Yeah.
Something a little more lighthearted.
Yeah.
All right.
Enjoy your day, guys. Goodbye from the Movie Girls. Goodbye. Yeah, it was quite the afternoon.